Hey guys, it is Wednesday, March 12th, 5:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I think that is a good time to review some comic books that came out this week. So, starting off with Batgirl number 29, end of a very short arc involved, I think it's only 2 issues, Batgirl versus this vampire hunter named Silver, who is convinced that Batman and the whole Bat family are vampires, and he is out to kill them, creatures of the night and all that. So this issue starts off where the last issue ended, in the middle of a kind of a police. The police caught up with Silver, who has caught up with Batgirl, and Strix, who is one of the Talons who turned good. And the first act of this book is them escaping the police, mostly because of Silver's flair for the theatric, slicing his own neck and then jumping on the back of his car to bada 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 with machine guns. And then he gets away. Barbara and Strix follow him back to his mansion, trying to rescue this little girl that he had kidnapped. And then they kind of have a short showdown in the mansion. This is what Batgirl and Strix look like to Silver, so vampires. And then they have a short fight, only a few pages, really well choreographed, I think. If you read a lot of Gail Simone's work, if you read Gail Simone's Tumblr, she has written about how she actually really focuses on scripting good choreography for her fights. And she's a big fan of martial arts movies and will watch them in order to understand, how a fight should play out. She uses them, I guess, narratively, which not all comic authors do. Some of them just say, put a fight scene here, artist, do your thing, it'll look interesting, which, could work depending on the artist. And then after the fight, we get kind of a last-minute sort of twist, which I won't spoil because it's done very well. It's very amusing. And then we get a short cameo by Andrew Bennett from iVampire, just flashing this. There he is. And then it's the end. So a short arc, pretty light. Actually, it's not too heavy, which I guess is a nice kind of change from what I think the last big Batgirl arc, which was the whole big thing with Barbara retiring and then Gordon getting on Batgirl's case, and this whole kind of big thing with this big cabal of villains that got really dark and really heavy. So these recent issues have actually been a nice kind of change from that, a nice little respite. And I mean, a lot of Gail Simone's work, it's very well written. It's and these lighthearted things, it's still Batgirl. It's not happy fun all the time, but it still has this just very kind of Barbara's this very kind of optimistic, not optimistic. I guess optimistic. Yeah, she's kind of an optimistic person, and it's an enjoyable read. If you like Batgirl, you like this. It's not great, it's not an amazing. You have to read it, but it's a fun little arc with some good fight scenes and a nice little twist at the end, and I can recommend it. Next up, we're going in a bit of a weird order today, just because of the comics that came out and their placements in terms of things. So we're moving on to Hawkeye number 17, which is another, I guess, kind of break issue. Last issue, if you've been reading, and I hope I'm not spoiling this for anyone, the hitman, I forget his name, but the hitman that's been after Clint and for a while, actually got caught up to him and shot him through the head. From solicits, it looks like Clint's still alive, but he's deaf again. He got deafened by the bullet. His brother Barney was also injured in the scuffle. So following that really dark kind of turn of events, we have a break issue that involves the cartoon that Clint watched on Christmas with the neighbor children. Well, the children in his building. And so we have this cartoon that kind of serves as a summary slash analog of the Hawkeye comics so far. And it's done in this great, try to find like a good spread without an ad. It's like done in this great kind of animated cartoon style, which I love. And it's not Pizza Dogs. I was hoping, I mean, not Pizza, it's not Dog Cops, which I was hoping it would be. I was kind of expecting it to be the Dog Cop special. But it's not. It's just a random kind of Christmas special. And it's not like subtle, it's obviously an analog um, for Clint's life. So basically, as the story goes, there is kind of a Christmas special sort of deal. You have kind of like the Peanuts building Frosty the Snowman, and then it's all really warm, so the winter friends come, but it's too warm for the winter friends to really do anything. So it's up to Steve, the dog with no powers that they keep around for some reason, who you can tell by his purple bed right there, his and blonde hair, I guess, is an analog for Clint, for Hawkeye himself. And then as soon as he gets the call, a little puppy comes who's supposed to be, I guess, a kind of Scrappy-Doo plus Kate Bishop. And then the dog is named Steve. Steve's brother comes, who's supposed to be Barney, and they all want to help Steve slash Clint in his thing. And here it's even incredibly obvious it's supposed to be Hawkeye, is the purple costume with the arrow on it. Oh man, this is great too. They run into this pack of wolves that's supposed to be the Russian mafia there. They're like, yo, get them, dogs, dog, yo, get these dogs, dog, instead of bro. It's just great. But then, of course, another group of dogs comes that's supposed to be the Avengers to help out. And, of course, the Clint dog is like, I can do this all by myself. And, I mean, it's, as you can tell, it's incredibly lighthearted. The whole thing, it is written, it just plays the whole cartoon thing straight. You can just give this comic to a 5-year-old and it's totally appropriate, and I'm sure they'll enjoy it because it's very well written. It's one of those, I guess, fun for all ages comics. You don't need to get the analog you don't have to understand the metaphor for it to be just an enjoyable, well-written comic. So yeah, I mean, pick it up. Since I started reading, I've said that Hawkeye is definitely like top 5 comics that I've been reading that's coming out ongoing. And I mean, even this issue, which is so far removed from everything that from all the other Hawkeyes, that's this just a completely different style. I'd say if it were a television show, I'd say it would be like it's like a Sweeps Week special, like a stunt episode. But it's so well done. Like I would just read this comic about the dogs. Yeah, it's such a departure from the usual, but it's also very good. Probably my favorite comic this week, and that's hard to really say because of the stuff that's following. But okay, maybe third favorite comic this week, but incredibly good. If you're not reading Hawkeye, fix that. Read Hawkeye. So next up, we have Batman issue 29, and okay, this is my favorite comic that came out this week because, I mean, Batman is just probably my favorite comic I'm reading right now. I love what Scott Snyder is doing with it. I love from issue 1 of the Batman New 52 reboot. I just loved everything he's done, and I'm really enjoying Zero Year. This is the last part of the second arc of Zero Year. It's split into 3 parts. I forget what they're called. It's something City. This arc is Dark City, and then next issue we'll start Savage City. So this is the final part of the second act um, of 0 Year, and this arc, the whole 0 Year thing, has been a constant kind of escalation. Um, I guess the end of the first part, which was issue 24, I think. Came out in October. So that would have been that was the end of the first part, and after that, I guess, was a little break as they set up, the next act, which is Dark City. But even then, like, it's a little lull, but it's still a lull amongst so much escalation, and this just huge Act Two, end of Act Two climax. So last issue, Batman, he's been going after this guy called Doctor Death, who seems to have no kind of relation to Edward Nygma until last issue, where we discover that Nygma has been kind of funding Doctor Death's experiments. So at the end of the last issue, Batman finds Doctor Death's lab, where he discovers that Nygma was behind the whole thing. Nygma pushes a button, floods the entire lab. Batman is just underwater, and that's where it ends, on a cliffhanger. Of course, he doesn't die because this is an origin story, but very suspenseful. And then this opens with a flashback to a night before the Waynes got assassinated. Just the whole family in a police station after Bruce had run out of the theater. Different time, of course, than what you're thinking of. And then just we see the glorious return of Batman popping out of the sewage, just gross. Before getting right back into fighting Nygma, or not, I guess, like combat, just trying to prevent Nygma's plan, which is incredibly complicated, it seems. Of course, he is the Riddler, so lots of steps. But there's a storm coming to Gotham. They're preparing for floods. They're levying off the city. They're evacuating the lower areas of the city. And Gordon is, of course, busy with that. Before Batman just calls him, I was like, dude, go to Wayne Tower. The Riddler's up to something. Gotta stop him. And then this whole comic is it's thick. This is a $5 comic. It's thick. It has a nice kind of, not laminated, but a nice cover. And so Gordon's kind of meeting Nygma in person. Meanwhile, Batman takes a fucking huge blimp to go to this weather balloon that the Riddler is going to broadcast this signal to take over the city from. There's a huge race against the clock before the police flip the switch, turn the power on for like the storm or whatever, like get the pumps ready or whatever, which of course then gives Nygma the control over the city. So it's a race until the power turns back on. Batman comes him up this weather balloon, and we see Dr. Death for one last scuffle, and it jumps around a lot. Like, this is the sort of thing where, like, if it were an episode of a television show, it'd be like, just cut, 5 minutes, cut, 5 minutes, cut, just like boom, boom, boom. Lots of story beats happening all at once. You have this great, just like beat by beat fight between Batman and Dr. Death. Like just this page. Batman's in a corner, elbows Doctor, just boom, boom. I don't know. I'm always impressed by Capullo's panel direction and just art. I love his art style. It's very stark, and I love the contrast of the pink sky with the dark silhouette. It's amazing what this team pulls off, what Snyder and Capullo do together. And then just shit gets real. Just not to spoil too much, but they don't stop the Riddler in time. And then the city floods. Like, Riddler explodes all the levees. Batman is miles above the city in this fucking weather balloon. Gordon is helpless. Gordon got kicked out of Wayne Tower by the Riddler. And the whole thing's falling apart. everything's falling apart. Bruce is getting flashbacks to whatever, what Bruce always gets flashbacks to. Cities underwater. I mean, as I said in the beginning of this, just constant escalation, things just going more and more to hell. Um, and that's that's the book. It's this just constant build to this huge climax, which happens at the end, which I spoiled, I guess, and it's worth it. I mean, I'm planning this whole video on Zero Year once the whole arc is done. I think it will be in sometime in June, maybe, or May, and I just have so much to say about it. I don't want to say it all here, but if you're not reading Zero Year, if you are a Batman fan, just fix that. Read Zero Year. It's incredibly good. Everything that Snyder's done, I think, with Batman so far is incredibly good. These are all things that I think are like the way we think of like Batman Year One or Hush or The Long Halloween, like these kind of seminal arcs. I think everything that Snyder's done, like from issue 1, has been kind of that caliber of writing, and Zero Year is no different so far. It's just so action packed, and I just have so much to say about Snyder. And I just pick it up, pick this book up. So going down a bit, Captain Marvel #1 came out today. Part of, I guess, Marvel Now .1. I don't know how Marvel. There's constantly #1s with Marvel anymore, but this is actually my first time reading Captain Marvel. I only started because I have heard incredibly good things about Kelly Sue DeConnick. I'm not exactly familiar, but I've heard incredibly good things. I like her on Tumblr, I guess. I follow her on Tumblr. I love what she does there. I guess my like of Matt Fraction's work has a lot to do with it too. I mean, I don't doubt his taste. He's given me no reason to. And this was a very good book. Very different from Batman. I kind of feel weird switching just between the two. Like this, like just from the art style, this is a lot more colorful, but it still uses kind of, at least in the initial pages, the book starts in medias res, I guess the whole arc does. But as you can see, just in these first few pages here, the background is kind of a constant color, and I guess that's sort of seen throughout the issue, just with the art, with Captain Marvel's blue-red costume just really sticking out against the background, and it doesn't matter what the background is. Like the red in the costume sticks out against the blue in the sky more than anything, so there's always a strong focus on what's her name? This is bad. I totally Carol Danvers. Yes. It's a good thing it's in big print right there. Yeah, so Carol Danvers always sticks out. And this art, first issue, lots of exposition, lots of setup, I guess. So if you don't know, if you're not familiar with the Captain Marvel characters, I am. It's just kind of a slow introduction. You get a little bit of backup, or background rather. So she's Captain Marvel. She's a superhero. Lives in the Statue of Liberty. Is friends with the Avengers. Has a relationship with Rhodey, who's Iron Patriot. He's in the Iron Man movies. I'm not all that familiar with him, to be completely honest. I think his name is James Rhodey. I'm terrible with names just in real life, in person. Just names are not my purview. And so at the end of this, basically, she's been feeling very restless. We're told this, we get it in the book, it's Carol Danvers needs to do something, burn off some steam. So she gets an invitation to become part of the Avengers team in space, to represent the Avengers, represent Earth in the Marvel universe, like the outer galaxy universe thing. Guardians of the Galaxy, and she decides that she's going to leave her life on Earth, go to space for a year, try to figure things out, rattle, a bit, kind of just renew herself. So again, most of the issue most of the action is front-loaded with the whole in medias res thing, where we see that she already has a team of people in space. And then we get the 6 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, leading up to that point, or part of that point. The arc is called Higher, Further, Faster, More. So this is going to be, I'm guessing, it's going to escalate. It's going to go from, just restless Captain Marvel in New York, kind of taking out street crime, as we see early in this book, to space hero Captain Marvel saving the universe. But yeah, it's a good jumping on point. It is a #1 if you're interested in the character, if you're interested in the writer, like I am. There's worse comics out there. It's hard to judge these #1s. And Moon Knight last week was really easy just because I thought that was really well written. But it was also pretty much a single issue. But this is very, it's building towards a longer story. So far, I like the characterization, I like the art. That's going for it. But plot-wise, it's hard to figure out exactly where we're going right now. But it's not bad. I'd go buy it if you're at all interested. This is a very good introduction to a longer arc. It's just hard to say, whether there's bad or good right now. It's the first chapter. So, but it hasn't turned me off, I guess, is what I can say. So now to the comics that aren't issue 1s or the end of arcs or blah, blah, blah. We have Superior Spider-Man #29. Wow, it's caught up with with the DC stuff. So Superior Spider-Man #29, Part 3 of Goblin Nation. I was going to say Goblin Wars. Part 3 of Goblin Nation, which leads into the Amazing Spider-Man reboot that'll get a #1, I think, last week of April. So this is basically leading up to all that. And I guess like in Batman, it's the city going to ruins. It's right now the Goblin pretty much has control over everything in the city. He's just causing mayhem, riots, and panic, and all sorts of nasty things. The Avengers have their hands full trying to, pick up the crumbs, I guess. Meanwhile, Goblin's going after Superior Spider-Man personally as this grudge against Otto for killing Spider-Man because he wanted to kill Peter. Just kind of blowing up everything Otto has ever loved. Otto's just trying to stop it. He's totally out of control and kind of out of his depth right now. And then, yeah, it's just, I wouldn't say it's reached its climax yet. It's still building to that point, but we really see just how tiny Green Goblin has made Superior Spider-Man in this very short period of time. Just how much control he has, how outclassed Otto is against the Green Goblin right now, and he's taking some heavy losses personally and emotionally, mentally. As you can see from the cover, Spider-Man 2099 kind of gets a little bit in at the end. This is one of those rare comics where they actually have this panel in the book. Because this is a middle issue, I don't feel like I'm really spoiling anything by showing the last page, which is pretty much just the cover. So they spoil it for you, even. It's good. I've liked Superior Spider-Man. It surprised me at first. I know I've said it a bunch. I was surprised by how much I enjoy Superior Spider-Man, and this is shaping up to be a really good finale. It's just Dan Slott's pulling out all the stops, really destroying Otto Octavius' life before presumably reviving Peter and doing something with Otto. We're still not sure yet, but it is a really good send-off. Just really, like I said, pulling out the stops, escalating, going huge. The whole city is a mess. Spider-Man is powerless. So you want to see how he gets out of this. You want to see how good triumphs in the situation, and I think that's what the best comic books do, because by virtue of the medium that the good guy's going to win. It's all about seeing, how far can the villain take it? how much can you go before he starts climbing out of this hole. And this, again, like Batman, is just one of those situations where there's so much going on that you just can't see it and you want to find out. So pick up this just for a really good Spider-Man comic. Even if I haven't been reading Spear Spider-Man, just this one arc, it's just amazing. Go read it. Now, last comic of the day, and I couldn't. The reason this one is last is I can't tell where it is in the arc because it's a Superman Wonder Woman. Because they still haven't defeated Zod and Faora yet. Faora, I don't know how to speak Kryptonian. Faora. Is it like Romance languages where you pronounce every vowel? So it's Faora or Faura. 3 syllables. I don't know. But last issue had the Wonder Woman Superman fight. Zod, Faora, whatever. They won, so now it's the villain's time to win, and most of this issue is a fight. We have a little bit of setup, like 6 pages, just kind of setup of what Zod and Faora are doing, and then how Superman and Wonder Woman are dealing with it. They go to Hephaestus to get some magic armor, which we see put into use a lot later. They also have invisible plane technology, which I love. I always love when they, just with Wonder Woman, they mention the invisible plane because it's so silly. I mean, a lot of Wonder Woman's kind of mythos are silly, but the invisible plane is just takes the cake, in my opinion. And then the rest of this issue is just Wonder Woman and Superman fighting. It's not, I think, as great of a fight scene as what I've mentioned in like Batgirl or Batman, but it's still a very good fight scene. I think just that's part of the characters is they're so powerful, but they don't have, I guess, visually spectacular things. Like it's all just kind of punching. You have Superman's eye beams, which they kind of do with the red on black, which looks nice. I also just don't think that the armor design is too interesting, to be honest. I don't think it's just kind of silver and gold. I prefer the costumes, the red and blue. So they kind of use their secret weapon in the armor, kaboom, knock out Zod and Faora before Apollo, who still is holding a grudge against Wonder Woman for the events in the Wonder Woman book, decides to supercharge him with solar power. And then they're just completely owned, can't fight back against supercharged Zod, and Zod and Faora complete their gateway to the Phantom Zone, which has Warworld, which they're planning to bring into Earth, and this book ends with a last-ditch effort between Superman and Wonder Woman to just explode the island they're on. They're trapped in a nuclear reactor. Superman says, well, there's only one way to really stop Zod from succeeding at this point, and that is to cause a nuclear explosion with Wonder Woman's sword, which can split atoms. So they do that. They split the atom, cause a nuclear blast, which they're caught in the epicenter of. And the last page is just kind of this very weakened Superman and Wonder Woman. After this, they're in the epicenter of this atomic explosion. We don't know how Zod and Faora are doing right now. We don't know. We just see the explosion and then this. So that's why I'm kind of confused as to its place within the arc. If this is, again, like an Act 2 climax or a conclusion where we'll revisit where we are now and then they're just going to do something with this whole thing. But I kind of skipped the first few issues of Superman Wonder Woman just because I didn't know how much I'd enjoy it. But I have enjoyed it. I pretty much hopped on this arc, so I missed the first arc with Doomsday. But this one's been really good. I really like how they balance like the action part of the comic with the kind of romance between Superman and Wonder Woman. They have this banter kind of in between or before fights and about like their relationship and really what it means. Like it's not just I love you, oh I love you too. It's about kind of what it means when you have the two most powerful people on the planet uniting like this romantically, and it's good. It's handled very well. I don't think it's that cheesy. Um, so if you were kind of put off by the romance aspect, it's not overwhelming. I would recommend this book. Charles Sewell, whatever. He's doing an amazing job on it so far. And it's not the worst Superman book because Scott Lobdell is still writing Superman. So yeah, if you're looking for a good Superman to read and more than just action comics right now, pick this one up. And it's always good to see Wonder Woman in more than one thing because she is a very underused character. So if you like Wonder Woman, go ahead. And that's it for this week. Really enjoyable pull. A lot of them, nothing disappointing, nothing underwhelming. So I hope you join me next week. Plenty of new comics come out. Not quite sure what. Haven't checked. Probably should. But yeah, no. I'm enjoying kind of getting back in the swing of this. Hopefully, I'll be able to keep it up for more than like a month or whatever my last run was. And I think I'm getting smarter now. Focusing on books that deserve focus and not just trying to stretch everything out. So yeah. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked, please give me the thumbs up or whatever that is. Comment if you have anything to say. Subscribe if you feel like it. And I'll see you next week.